Do you have gestational diabetes and you want to have good blood sugars and a healthy baby that's not huge? Today, I'm going to share with you my clients' favorite easy dinner recipes. I'm going to chat about what to eat for gestational diabetes, including portion sizes. First, I'm going to tell you a really short story about a pregnant woman named Emily. So, this is Emily, and she was diagnosed with gestational diabetes. So, she very dutifully followed the guidelines of taking 175 grams of carbohydrate for her pregnancy, and she was frustrated because her blood sugars were still high, and she wasn't able to control her blood sugars, and she had to go on insulin. Then she did some research and she figured out that actually 175 grams isn't based on scientific data, and it's actually just a whole bunch of circular studies that are referring to each other, and that it's actually safe to have less carbohydrates, not a low carbohydrate diet, but a lower carbohydrate diet. So Emily cut back on her carbohydrates to about 90 to 150 grams of carbohydrates, and she was able to avoid insulin, which may not be true for all women, but they may be able to cut back. But she was able to avoid taking insulin, and she had a healthy baby girl that weighed 7 pounds and 5 ounces. If you're new to me, my name is Jessica Pumple. I'm a registered dietitian and a certified diabetes and bariatric educator. I've been working with pregnant and women with gestational diabetes since 2009, helping them have good blood sugars and a healthy baby that's not huge. Today I'm going to share the dinner recipes with you, but don't worry, you don't have to have a pen to scribble everything down. You can go down to the description box below, and I have not only the dinner recipes, but a week's meal plan for gestational diabetes below. This is the first video in a series that I'm going to do to have a healthy baby with gestational diabetes. So if you have gestational diabetes or you're a pregnant mom, make sure you subscribe to our channel and ding the bell so that you get notified every Wednesday when we release new videos. Of course, this is general information only, and you should refer to your doctor or your diabetes team to find out what's right for you and your gestational diabetes. And if you are on insulin, make sure that you refer to your healthcare professionals, because if you play around with the amount of carbohydrate and you don't change your insulin, you could end up with hypoglycemia or a low blood sugar. Let's dive into the dinner recipes. And as I go along, I'm going to explain why I chose each of the foods and the carbohydrate and the portion sizes so that you can modify your own recipes with the tips that I'm providing. What we're looking for in a dinner recipe for gestational diabetes is protein, healthy fats, low carbohydrate vegetables, and then a little bit of low glycemic index carbohydrate. This could be from a low glycemic index grain or a vegetable with carbohydrate. It could be from fruit or a milk and alternative. Like I explained in the story, the current guidelines recommend 175 grams of carbohydrate for pregnant women. This is a lot of carbohydrate, and the research shows that this is not based on evidence-based studies. And the current research shows that it is safer to have a lower amount of carbohydrate for pregnant women. If you're interested in learning more about the research, my colleague Lily Nichols wrote a book on this called Real Food for Gestational Diabetes. I will also put the link below for this in the description box if you wanted to check out that book as well. Also, if you're interested in learning about why women get gestational diabetes and exactly how gestational diabetes works in the body, I'm going to link to an animation that very simply explains how everything works in the body. I like to aim for between 90 and 150 of grams of carbohydrate per day for gestational diabetes. And so when you break that down between meals and snacks, and given that dinner is usually a larger portion size, about 15 to 20, max 40 grams of carbohydrate is a good amount to aim for at your dinner. I do have a question for you. Are you comfortable counting carbohydrates? Let me know in the comments if you're comfortable counting carbohydrates, or if you would like me to make a video on how to accurately count carbohydrates, including the best apps to use and tools to use to get a really accurate carbohydrate count for your gestational diabetes. Number one is feta and egg stuffed peppers. So my friend Paula at How to Make Dinner made this recipe and they look so delicious. I will link to the video on how to make it as well. And you compare it with a salad with about 15 to 20 grams of carbohydrates to make sure you're getting that 20 to 40 grams of carbohydrates in your meal. And in the meal plan, I'll link to salad recipes that have either, you could put in a half a cup of whole grain noodles or a third a cup of cooked quinoa, or you could add some fruit to your salad to make sure that you're getting those carbohydrates, and all of those options are in the meal plan. Number 2 is cauliflower dough pizza, and I was surprised. My kids absolutely loved this and gobbled it up. And you can either do it with a head of cauliflower, grating it, or doing it in the food processor. I just bought riced cauliflower to make it super fast and easy, and it was really super fast and easy. So you do cook it, and then you have to drain it, and the key is draining out the rice cauliflower more than you think. So cook it, let it cool, and then squeeze it, and then squeeze it a little bit more, or maybe get your hubby to squeeze it and get all of the water out of it. And then you can just mix everything together and you sort of make the shape of a pizza crust and cook it, and it stayed together fairly well as well. And the carbohydrate amount, so for half of the pizza, if you're going to have 2 slices or half the pizza from one package, it's going to be about 8 grams for the dough, and then you're going to add the pizza sauce. And so for a quarter cup of pizza sauce, it's 7 grams of carbohydrate minus 2 grams of fiber, so you're looking at about 5. If you have a quarter cup of pizza sauce on half of the pizza, you might have a little bit less measured out, see how much you use. But if you had a salad with that, you could just add some fruit, or you could add a glass of almond milk or fruit to round out the amount of carbohydrate that you would need for that dinner. Number 3 is ground chicken meatballs made with almond flour rather than breadcrumbs over top of spaghetti squash rather than over top of pasta or noodles. So this is a lower carb choice. 1 cup of the spaghetti squash is about 7 net grams of carbs, and the chicken meatballs, because they're made with almond flour, are very low carb as well. So you could have 2 cups of spaghetti squash, or you could add a fruit or a glass of a milk or alternative to round out the number of carbs that you need for this meal as well. I did the spaghetti squash in my Instant Pot because it was fast and I really love doing it that way, but you could also bake it in the oven, and then when it's cooked, you just take a fork and it scrapes out and it's in the shape of spaghetti, giving you that same sort of texture. Number 4 is salmon, brown rice, and a low-carb veggie such as broccoli. So you can cook the salmon however you want. You could do it in the oven, you could pan fry, you could do it on the barbecue. And the brown rice, I like to do again in my Instant Pot, but you could do it on the stove. And one of the things I like to do to make my rice more flavorful is do it in a vegetable or a chicken broth, and that just gives it a little bit more flavor. And the key here to this meal is going to be the portion size of the brown rice, because that's what contains the carbohydrates. So a third of a cup of cooked brown rice is 15 grams of carbohydrate, or if you're having a half a cup, it's going to be about 22 grams of carbohydrate. And then you can pair it with your veggie, and then if you wanted to add fruit or milk to that meal as well, you can. Number 5 is a tofu stir fry over black bean noodles, or you could also do it over zoodles, where you take zucchini and you spiralize it. And before you say, if you're not a tofu lover, before you say, yuck, I don't like tofu, hear me out. Tofu takes on the flavor of whatever you're cooking it with. But for it to take on that flavor, you need to take the moisture out of it. So if you have tried tofu and someone didn't take the moisture out of it, then it's just going to taste plain and kind of blah. But if you take the tofu and 24 hours in advance, put it either in a tofu press or just squeeze it out and wrap it in a towel, then it takes out the moisture, and then the tofu can absorb the flavors of whatever you're cooking it with. So if you're not a tofu fan, I challenge you to try this recipe because it's quite delicious. My kids love it. And as long as you get the moisture out, the tofu tastes delicious. So there you have it, the best nutrient dense and lower carb dinner recipes for gestational diabetes to have better blood sugars and to have a healthy baby that is a healthy size and possibly to help stay off insulin. So I will put the link below to a weekly menu plan for gestational diabetes that includes all these recipes, but also includes breakfast and lunch recipes as well. If you have more questions about your gestational diabetes and your blood sugars or a meal plan or what to eat, you can put your questions in the comments below, but you can also head over to our Facebook community of women with gestational diabetes just like you, and I will also put the link to that in the comments below, and ask your questions to registered dietitians, diabetes educators, and other moms in the group there. If you liked this video and found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell to get notified. And if you know anyone else with gestational diabetes, please share this video with them so that they can have good blood sugars and a healthy baby as well. Thank you so much for joining me for this video today. Stay tuned for more videos about gestational diabetes and living healthy with gestational diabetes, as well as our regular videos for prenatal yoga and fitness and postpartum core and diastasis recti healing and weight loss after a baby.